Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Standy has revealed all about the way things are going internally at the Vegas Legion, commenting on their first set of scrims going rather well, as usual for any team in the CDL, but also saying there's one specific individual he wants to crush the dreams of for the rest of the season. Could that well be Scrappy after the Toronto drama of earlier this season? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. A couple of weird things going on the Challenger side. First of all, it was a Challengers Cup weekend, it still is, where there's no CDL action, so this really is the perfect time for anyone to play, to actually get noticed, right? And we were kind of hoping that OpTic Nation might play. Don't really believe that turned out to be happening, but even in the Latin American region, there was only 11 teams, I believe, taking part. One of them didn't sign up in time, so I don't know, it's pretty interesting, but I expected more teams to play in this really, so maybe unfortunate, but don't know what you guys think about that one. There's also this from Defrag I thought was hilarious. So they got forfeited in the European Challengers Cup for having Chinese names. So they changed their names for some reason to be in like, you know, Chinese Mandarin script or whatever. And then they got forfeited briefly by, I don't know if the other team was forfeiting them or like basically said to the admins, or whether the admins just straight up said that it was going to be a forfeit. But they initially got kind of, well, forfeited for this offense apparently. And then it was overturned because I think the issue was that like people can't type it into their keyboard to actually add you as a friend. That was what the admin was saying. But they need to change their Activision IDs back, but you can only change it a certain amount of times, and eventually they got it resolved. But if they don't have enough tokens left to change their name, then I guess they might be screwed a little bit. So, I don't know. Seems a stupid idea. Why would you do that in the first place? But I don't exactly see why it's worth the forfeit, so just like random challenges stuff that you just can't stop here. And also this update from Breaking Boy that iLLeY and Standy are now options here for selection. So, London's fourth, now iLLeY was, I believe, $6. I probably should have held out in creating my fantasy team, because Standy for 5 is actually pretty good value, because if people picked 2 real, as some people probably did, even though that maybe should have been, you know, maybe you should have held off on that one because a change could have been coming. Maybe I should have held off as well though, because Standy could have been coming in, he now is coming in, and therefore he's swapped straight out with 2 real. So if you guys selected 2 real, you'll get Standy. If you haven't selected anything yet, Standy's only $5, which is pretty good value for money, I think, on that Vegas side, because, okay, Standy could slay out pretty hard. They have a relatively easy schedule, the Vegas Legion. Probably a player that I might well have gone for had I have chosen my team a bit earlier. I don't believe I could change it now, unfortunately. But I still think my team is good. But if you guys want to get involved, breakingboy.gg/fantasy, all that good stuff. Also, Octane was touching last night on the new map Hillmat Expo, saying that the pros haven't really got to play it that much yet. I know that Dashy was on it for one of the first couple of times last night. The pros seem keen to bring it in, but there isn't that much time for them to get this vote through. I'm not exactly sure when they need to tell the CDL, but I know that before there's been discussions that the kind of roster lock for going into, let's say, Major 4 is probably tomorrow on Monday, because the league needs to get their graphics and everything ready for the week. And it might be the same idea with the map set, right? Like if they're going to bring a new map set into the pool and change the entire, you know, update the rule sets, then that's going to take them, you know, they're going to have a little bit of lead time to accomplish that. So if the map set is going to be changed, it's probably got to happen in the next 48 hours for it to actually be reflected by the time we get to next Friday's game. So the pros seem eager to get Hillmat in instead of, let's say, Fortress Control. I don't think it's going to happen in Search and Destroy immediately. It might happen down the line. And there's been some discussions, is this map really better or worse? It's, you know, there's some dodgy spawns, but I do think on the whole, it's definitely better for Control than Fortress is. I mean, it's not really a tall order to make that happen, so it should come in. Hopefully the pros will make that happen over the coming days. Speaking of Treyarch, I thought this was remarkable as well. Treyarch responded to a request for dead silence in ranked play, and the following response I thought was actually quite remarkable. Like, I thought they might have said it in a different way to this rather than being quite so blunt in what it, you know, read between the lines here a little bit, right, guys? They say, just to set expectations for this kind of request and others like it, we are ultimately not responsible for core gameplay mechanics in Modern Warfare 2. This kind of feedback is better shared with Infinity Ward for multiplayer. So this is the thing, Treyarch, they are basically carrying this game right now with ranked play and all that, but yet they unfortunately do not, well, get to make the calls. Joe Secret and the guys, they make the calls on the gameplay mechanics, and you know, if you read between the lines here, Treyarch seem to be saying like, we would love to, right? Like, our game is going to have it whenever they make their next game in 2024 probably, but you know, unfortunately we don't direct what Joe Secret decides to do. So kind of unfortunate stuff, but it's kind of blunt in a way really from Treyarch here that, like, yeah, just to set expectations, we can't control this. We'd love to, but unfortunately we can't. That's at least how I read it. You guys might perceive it perceive it slightly differently. Also, Zero, we know that he's still competing right now. For some reason, London as an organization decided to move their boys out to LA this year. I think in previous seasons they were in North Carolina, but now they're in LA, which obviously isn't ideal for anyone. And obviously that's not really helping his case in the challenger scene right now. Let's talk about the Standy drama then. So not too long ago now, Standy was dropped by Toronto. Well, okay, he was benched initially for Hicksy, and then it wasn't that long after he was officially released by the team. And, well, seemingly whatever organizations they might have been speaking to about a buyout weren't going to happen. Vegas then swooped in and said, hey, no buyout player, let's get him signed up. 2 wheels gone. Standy's in, as of course we saw just yesterday. Welcome to the Neon Capital, say the Las Vegas Legion. Now, lots of reaction to this from around the league. Scump was pretty optimistic about this move. He was critical, in fairness, of when Standy was dropped initially by Toronto, and that worked out rather nicely. So Standy has given his thoughts on the way the first day of practice has gone, the new teammates he's got. I thought his statements here were quite interesting in a way, because Vegas, the last couple of years, or Legion, let's say, has been an organization you really don't want to join, but now it seems like Legion seems like kind of a stepping stone organization for some other players, which is probably where they, you know, given the amount of money they spend, is probably what they would hope to be considered as, in a way. Vegas are never going to be, given, like, they don't expend the most money and stuff, they're not going to be a destination necessarily, or like a finishing point for many players, but they are potentially, at least how competitive they could potentially be with this roster, a bit of a stepping stone for players that have either been dropped off better teams or coming up from challenges to leapfrog themselves up to a real contending roster. I think this team can be solid. I don't think they're going to win a championship or anything, and that seems to be how Standy sees it. He's like, look, I'm playing with these great players from now to the end of the season. It could be a potential step up for him next year if he does well here, to be chilling in the off-season and get some offers coming in. And maybe Clay feels similarly, right? I wonder what Clay's thinking, but I mean, he's played well so far this year. He's obviously still a valuable asset and is helpful to the guys around him. There's a chance that next season Clay even gets a better offer than he currently has on Vegas, which would be pretty interesting as well for him. But also Standy mentions, very spicy indeed, that he's trying to crush somebody's dreams. Who is this? We'll dive into it in the coming minutes here to try and figure out which individual he might be discussing.
If I can turn this season around with, like, Legion, you know what I'm saying? Like, I should be chilling going into next season, and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can really do some crazy shit. And I know Clay, Temp, and Tej are all, like, really good, experienced players, especially on LAN. So I know they're going to be godlike on LAN, too. No, I think TJ's really good, bro. I don't know, bro. I think he's underrated, man. I got a contract for the rest of the year. So now it's time to go hard and try to make champs, and, you know, coming for that ace spot, mother.
I like that.
I joined back the league to ruin someone's dreams.
Who's someone?
I know. I know you know. First day of Scrims, though, went great today.
Nice.
Could have been improved, though, but I think it was a solid day.
Who'd you guys play?
Florida and Seattle.
I'm
not saying nothing more.
Give me the map counts, but don't tell me what the map counts were against the team.
No, I'm not.
Who are you gunning today?
I'm not giving free entertainment.
Who are you gunning today?
I mean, I'm not gassing myself. Let's say I was pretty decent in both lobbies.
Yeah, you were a kid. You're gross.
I was mediocre.
Oh, okay.
Nah, it was a solid day, you know. Overall, great team play.
The quote, right, I joined Vegas to ruin somebody's dreams. Now, who is this exactly, and is it Scrappy? Because I think there's a good chance that it probably is. Few reasons for this, right? So, first of all, my initial thought was, okay, he's obviously come for revenge on Rokkr in a way, just because we saw yesterday he said he was coming hard to try and overtake Rokkr and take the World Championship spot off them. But when he was on Rokkr last year, when he got, of course, removed from the team, really, was there any beef with him and the guys that are still there? Because it's only Attach, right, that stays on Rokkr. So does he have beef with Attach? I doubt it. And also, would Attach's dreams be to just make the World Championship? Probably not, right? I mean, Attach has already won it back in 2015. So I don't exactly think that if he was beefing with Attach, which some people theorize, that he's going to be ruining Attach's dreams by knocking him out of champs or preventing him from getting to champs. So I don't really buy that side of the argument, even if that was to be the case. To me, it's more likely to refer to the individual that Standy was discussing in this tweet when Standy was originally dropped from the team. Had my own homie backstabbing me, we move forward. I think he did a couple of tweets to this effect, and we theorized at the time that he's probably talking about Scrappy, and this is because he is teamed with Scrappy way back in the day. They were a duo that was upcoming. They used to play at locals together for quite some time. They, of course, teamed up then on Toronto. They seemed pretty friendly, got on pretty well, obviously did okay at the start of the season. They were great online, not so good on LAN, and then they decided to make that surprise roster change for Hicksy coming in, and look, we don't exactly know who decided to make that move with Hicksy coming in, who made the call. Was it the coaching staff? half. Scrappy was asked about it in a post-game interview, and he was kind of laughing and kind of brushing aside the question. So it makes sense, given Hicksy's success in challenges with Scrappy last year, that Scrappy might have been in part involved in getting that Hicksy move done and getting Standy dropped. So Standy wasn't happy about it. Of course, that team has gone on to win an event. He probably feels himself, Standy, he could have won an event with that team as well, given the caliber of players they had and, Standy's individual abilities. Well, Hicksy just seems like a straight-up better fit. So that was the discussion that I had at the time, and this probably checks out, because even back in Black Ops 4, we can see Standy and Scrappy played a tourney here, the Helix Esports Local, June 2019, that they won together. So they did play together back in the day, and then they were on Toronto. Then, my homie backstabbing me, who else could that be talking about? And now, of course, he's back in the league. So it makes perfect sense, really, that if Standy's talking about anyone, he's talking about coming for Scrappy. Now, ruining his dreams is quite interesting, just because Scrappy has won an event, right? He won an event and got the MVP back there at Major 3. So Scrappy's already achieved that. He's come into the league, he's won his event. So has Standy, right? He won the event back at Major 5 2021. But Scrappy's achieved that. I guess the next goal for Scrappy and the dream of Scrappy would be to win the World Championship, right? So I guess what Standy might be getting at here is to try and ruin Scrappy's dreams of winning the World Championship by knocking him out of champs or something along those lines, or just beating him at a tournament in the near future, I'm sure is Standy's goal, because now he's back in the league, he's coming for blood, it seems. And probably Scrappy's the man. We'll also mention here some juicy drama. When I was searching for those tweets I just showed you guys, I stumbled across this from 2017, which is a tweet from iLLeY Standy to Sir Scrappy, as his gamer tag was at the time, just roasting him and having a bit of beef. So pretty funny, they teamed up a couple of years later, but back in 2017, like 5-6 years ago now, they were beefing on Twitter. So maybe not a massive surprise they're beefing again at the moment, and Standy is the one coming for revenge, probably against Scrappy individually. If you guys have any other theories on, which players you might be talking about trying to ruin their dreams of, definitely let me know. But certainly Vegas versus Toronto is a very spicy matchup. And even better for this theory is that very shortly indeed, the two teams actually play each other. So here is the Major 4 qualifiers, and Vegas play Boston first up. They then play London, I believe, and then their third game is against Guerrillas. Their fourth game, though, is Toronto, April the 14th against Toronto. So this is I'm looking forward to this one massively. Vegas versus Toronto at this time. Yes, Ultra will be the favourites, but still, to see Scrappy versus Standy already in this game, not that far from now, is going to be great stuff. And hopefully they can match up at a Major again as well, even though that might not be too likely. But in fairness, Vegas could qualify for winners this time around, because they have one of the more achievable brackets they are really going to find. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Pretty spicy stuff. Just one final thing to close out here I thought was kind of cool. Money Hill Stats actually looks back at a famous moment from COD history. You guys, I'm sure, remember the Kenny 4-piece. Well, to be fair, a lot of you guys will be new to the scene and won't have seen the Kenny 4-piece. Just search up on YouTube after this, right? Kenny 4-piece Gibraltar versus Echo Fox. You'll find the game. And I thought it was kind of awesome to look at the comeback that TK made here, and somehow winning this game right at the death, with Kenny going absolutely huge. We're very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
And Echo Fox in the hard point.
3 seconds left for his Echo Fox, the closest now coming in from the top. It's Kenny. Kenny fights 2 from the bridge, fights the 3rd as well. But inside the hard point, it's Aqua. It's a 1-on-1. Aqua versus Kenny. Kenny wins it. Kenny wins it. He wins the game. A 1 second hard point game. TK do it again.